Channel 5. Cleveland's live 24-hour news source continues.
They were really starting to get on their feet when all of this happened. And they were a big part of my life that this man took away.
An Akron woman grieves tonight over the loss of her daughter and grandson in a hit-skip accident this weekend.
And now the family must also deal with the fact that the man accused of running them down is free on bond. Good evening. We start our news tonight with a very sad story out of Akron.
Neighbors and family of 23-year-old Denise Charlie and her 4-year-old son Dustin wanted to share their emotional story with us because they say they are very angry. Denise Charlie and her son were walking to their mailbox Friday night when a driver plowed them down and then left the scene. This man, 50-year-old Lawrence Zanders, later turned himself into police, but he's now free on bond. Witnesses who found Denise and her son are still trying to shake the images of what they stumbled upon.
It was unusual to try to put the pieces together because her clothing was, like her jacket was so far away, and I thought, what kind of an impact is that to knock your clothes off? And of course, like I said, the child was way up the street. So, I kept mumbling to him, who would hit somebody and not stop? It just didn't make any sense.
And investigators were back out at the scene again today, trying to reconstruct the accident. While they were outside, family members were inside, trying to make sense of it all.
He did give himself up, and that he would that he is out on a $1,000 bail, which I don't feel he should be out yet. I think he should be in there.
We're outraged. He takes 2 human lives, claims he hit dogs, and he's out the next morning on bail. I don't know what the judge could have been thinking when he set the bail so low. He didn't even hit his brakes. He never stopped. Dustin was dragged underneath of the car. We're absolutely outraged.
And while the family tries to be strong for Denise's other 3 children, it's incredibly hard, they say, when they reflect on the little boy they've now lost.
Right now, I'm handling it very well, I think.
Oh, no. You have...
Of course, this was Dusty's favorite.
Zanders, the man accused of hitting the 2, will be back in court tomorrow morning to answer to charges of vehicular homicide. The judge who set bail for Zanders and let him out of jail did not return our phone calls today. Meanwhile, a fund is being set up at the First Federal Savings Bank in Akron to help the family with expenses and to help the surviving children.
And tonight, people living in the Firestone Park section of Akron are mourning the death of a Garfield Heights school sophomore killed on his way home from a homecoming dance in an awful traffic accident blamed on a speeding driver. Around 1 o'clock this morning, the victim, 16-year-old Jason Monahan, and 3 other teens were in this limousine, now badly mangled, when another car sped off the I-77 exit ramp at Burkhardt and Archwood, ran a red light, and broadsided the limo. The area is just a few blocks away from Jason's home. People who live near the corner where the tragedy happened say drivers frequently speed through the intersection.
It's 25 miles an hour coming off that ramp, and people don't realize that. They still think they're up on that freeway and they come through here.
70, 75 mile an hour, 80, depends, because they're making a straight shot here to the other street.
Police say the driver of the car that slammed into the limo in which Jason was riding was 31-year-old Douglas Wright of Akron. He died in the crash. The police say Wright had just hit another car on the freeway before he hit the limo. The other teens who were with Jason, 2 14-year-old girls and a 16-year-old boy, are listed in serious condition in intensive care.
Just outside the front doors of Channel 5 tonight, a very loud bang was heard. And when our crews walked outside to check, they found this beige car had been severely smashed. An EMS unit rushed a female passenger in the car suffering from a head injury to Charity Hospital. She's apparently okay and at this hour has been discharged. Police tell us it appears the driver of this cab van that we're going to show you had run a red light, subsequently smashing into the woman's car. The cab driver and the driver of the beige car were not injured. The motorist in this car, however, was tragically not so fortunate. Police say 24-year-old Brian Palfy of Akron was speeding at 70 miles per hour along East North Street under the Route 8 bridge in Akron early this morning when he swerved left of center and slammed into a pole. His Chevy Chevette crumpled and the top got smashed in. Palfy, who was not wearing a seatbelt at the time, was killed. Akron police are also telling us tonight that alcohol, not just speeding, was also a factor in this accident.
An arsonist is being blamed tonight for a triple two-alarm house fire on Cleveland's west side this morning. Crews were called out to the house on West 33rd Street near Lorraine around 1 a.m. The blaze quickly spread to the homes on either side. Fortunately, the sleeping neighbors managed to get out safely. Authorities say the blaze did at least $25,000 in damage to the first home and several $1,000s worth of damage to each of the others. An East Cleveland bar police say is notorious for violence and drug dealing is out of business tonight thanks to a program called Operation Crackdown. The East Cleveland Police Department SWAT team moved in on the Fantasy Cocktail Lounge on Euclid Avenue last night. Authorities say they've made 2 drug buys twice in the last 7 days there. No drugs were confiscated in this raid and no one was arrested. But the Fantasy Cocktail Lounge is closed. The bar is considered a public nuisance, a court finding which allowed Ohio Attorney General Lee Fisher to carry out his crackdown program in order to shut down the establishment.
Another major effort in Cleveland this weekend deserves a huge thank you tonight. If even just one home has been made safer because of fire precautions and education, Fives Army will have been a total success. All weekend long, hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, including a bunch of us here at TV5, fanned out across Cleveland with pamphlets for residents outlining fire safety and smoke detector information. Wilma and Ted, Lorna, Tonya, Don, Carrie, and I were joined along with the Cleveland Fire Department by so many folks who just wanted to help get the message out about fire safety. In fact, the mission was so important that another local Cleveland TV station joined along with Fives Army in our effort to get the word out. It does bear repeating that close to a dozen young children here in Cleveland have died this year in house fires, and perhaps thanks to you, we won't see any more fire tragedies.
It's good to see all the support that we're getting. Well, let me tell you, if you haven't been outside, it's not just a little chilly, it is downright cold. Carrie O'Reilly knocks a few icicles off the camera to give us her 24-hour forecast. Carrie?
Thanks very much, Tonya, but it was rainy in Boston, but we still won. Overnight tonight, it is going to continue clearing, but the wind chill factor is going to come into play. Yes, it's almost winter time. You're looking at a low tonight that in actual fact is going to even dip a lot lower than 38. It's going to go down around 34, 35 degrees. But then tomorrow, look forward to some sunshine, except for in the northeast, a slight to some showers. I'll tell you why in a few moments, but look at the high up around 60 degrees. I can't wait for it. Then tomorrow evening, it's going to be a crisp fall evening with evening lows, not overnight lows, of around 52. I'll tell you about more of it when I come up in a few moments.
It's cold outside, but I am sweating here in the studio. It is burning up in here.
Because the Browns won. That's got to be it.
That's right.
Speaking of the cardiac kids, they're back in town, and Bob Stevens will talk live in the studio with the man who caught the winning touchdown in the Browns' victory over the Patriots.
But first, we'll fly with the president aboard Air Force One, our Roy Weisinger's exclusive one-on-one interview with Mr. Bush, next on News Channel 5.
What makes this week's newspaper so big? Why, it's a mountain of values. That's right, because inside is the Lionel Kitty City Sales Circular, and it's packed with great sale prices. For knockout sale prices, it's the Lionel Kitty City Sales Circular. The savings are huge.
Sunday night, Browns defensive lineman Rob Burnett barges in live after blitzing the Packers.
News Channel 5 Sports Sunday tonight at 11:25.
John Glenn, a leader in the fight to improve math and science teaching in our high schools and to enact math and science scholarships for college students. But there's a different record in the race for Senate. As a congressman, Mike DeWine opposed student loans for the middle class, voted to cut education programs by over $2 billion. And this year, as Lieutenant Governor, DeWine helped lead the fight to cut education in Ohio by almost $300 million. John Glenn, a leader in the fight for education. Mike DeWine, a leader in the fight to cut it.
You know, under Issue 5, businesses like mine will have to put up lots of signs and send out tons of notices, but some other people won't. And businesses like mine will be spending thousands of dollars, while others won't have to spend a dime. So who gets off easy? The city power plant.
Government-owned facilities like these are totally exempt from Issue 5.
It just isn't fair.
Don't get stuck with the billion-dollar label law. Vote no on Issue 5.
In the race for Congress, Bob Gardner backs another capital gains tax cut for the rich. He opposes family leave for workers and universal health care coverage, and he has no economic plan. Sound familiar? Eric Fingerhut represents a new course, family leave, health coverage for all Americans, a detailed blueprint to bring jobs to northeastern Ohio. Eric Fingerhut for Congress, because fighting for change is his life, not his slogan.
Big question tonight. Was it dirty tricks that kept Ross Perot from staying in the presidential race last July?
That's what the Texas billionaire is claiming tonight. Addressing a rally in Pittsburgh today, Perot repeated his charge that Republicans were planning to smear his daughter and disrupt her wedding in August if he had entered the race. Bush campaign aides dismissed the report as preposterous.
He's been told directly and personally that there's nothing to it, and he knows that.
So what's the purpose then of him bringing this up?
I have no idea what he's up to.
Meanwhile, Democrat Bill Clinton is fending off charges of playing dirty politics himself. A London newspaper is reporting that Clinton made an alleged deal with the head of the European Commission to delay a World Trade Agreement until after the election. Clinton, who tonight kicked off another Democratic bus tour in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, flatly denies the charge, saying, quote, "There's nothing to that." However, President Bush says if the report is true, then it was, quote, "a sorry, pathetic thing to do."
You know, this late in the race for the presidency, one of the toughest things for a journalist to get is an exclusive interview with any of the presidential candidates. But our Roy Weisinger got an interview today with President Bush. As the president jogged up the steps of Air Force One and waved to the crowds that had gathered in Michigan today, Roy fell into step right behind, there he is, with other members of the national media. This is the last full week before the election, and once aboard Air Force One, Roy spoke to the president about Cleveland, about Ohio, and about rival Bill Clinton.
I know how critical Ohio is to you. Yes, it is. Republicans never win without Ohio. That's right. And yet Ohio is not like Michigan, which you just came from. It's not easy to get a handle on the problems of the people of Ohio. It's a diversified state. What do you have to say to a diversified state? People of all stripes and colors.
Well, I say to them that I have to go to the basic philosophy. Governor Clinton has already stated he wants to raise taxes $150 billion and spending $220 billion. And I say you got to hold the line on the mandatory growth program, the mandatory entitlement programs, and you got to give investment incentives for small business. I think that message makes sense in Cleveland, and I think it makes sense in rural Ohio outside of Cincinnati, for example. People are getting down to making the final decision, and they're asking themselves the question, who do I trust? Who has the character to be president? My argument with Clinton on it is there's a pattern of deception and on these issues. Just when I make a mistake, you got to look right into the American people's eyes and say, hey, I made a mistake. Now let's go on about leading this country.
Sure is noisy on Air Force One. Mr. Bush also talked to Roy about the national media, saying they've simply made up their minds that they don't want him back in office. Roy will have more of his exclusive interview with President Bush tomorrow on Live on 5.
And here we are, just a little over a week away from Election Day. And as the candidates near the home stretch to the White House, the latest ABC News poll is in line with other national polls saying Clinton is out in front.